Hey everyone, today Brooke is going to be telling her story. When I first met Brooke, she was dating my brother and she was always very successful. She had just graduated law school, she was already practicing law and working for the dark side in insurance defense. And to see how she has grown from where she already was very successful to where she is today, where she's recovering tens of millions of dollars for people is just so eye-opening and rewarding to see. So today we're going to learn about Brooke's story, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. All right, so Brooke, let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about little Brooke and your childhood and what major influences had an impact on your life to lead you to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I am a native Floridian. I was born and raised here. I've lived in different parts of Florida, but the primary area that I grew up is New Smyrna Beach, Florida. It's known as the shark bite capital of the world. So I come from a long line of pastors and worship leaders. My father was a pastor, so that means that I got to be everything from a backup musician and singer on the worship team to a janitor to a youth leader to everything you name it. I've done it in church leadership for my father's church. My mom was a legal assistant, and so she was in the law firm life, working for other lawyers as I grew up.
So basically, you learned early on how to wear multiple hats and to be efficient at it.
Yes, very true. Very true. My home away from home was the church, and we had to work in it kind of like a business in some ways to keep it running and keep everything moving and growing.
Amen. So tell me about who you were in high school. Were you the preppy girl, the jock, the nerd? If I could categorize you, what would you be categorized as?
So I went to high school in the 90s. So I graduated high school in 1998. So I was, in terms of how I appeared and how I dressed, an alternative chick. I was wore the baggy Jeanco jeans and the oversized T-shirts and kind of skateboarding like attire. And most of my friends outside of school were skateboarders. Inside of school, I was kind of a jack of all trades. I was in the IB program, which stands for International Baccalaureate, which was an advanced, accelerated, very challenging coursework. And so I was kind of an IB nerd in that sense, but I also was a cheerleader and cheered for 3 years of high school. I also was a band geek and played the clarinet in the band and was in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I was a weightlifter, an undefeated weightlifter on the girls weightlifting team my senior year. So I really kind of had friends and groups of people that I connected with in a bunch of different areas in high school.
That is so cool. I love that. And what did you do after high school?
After high school, I went on to college and went to Stetson University in DeLand, Florida. I chose to stay close to home because my younger sister, she's 15 years younger than me, and she was 2 years old when I graduated high school. And so she was just the joy of my life at the time, and I really didn't want to be far away from her and wanted to participate in her growing up years. So I chose Stetson University to stay close to home, and I majored in political science.
I feel for your mom having to start over like that. That must have been quite challenging on her, but yet a huge blessing in helping her stay young and spunky like she is.
Well, people used to say that my sister had four parents because my brother's 12 years older than my sister. So my parents really had a built-in babysitter. They could go, I turned 16 when she was 1, so I could drive her around and take her places with me. And so my mom kind of had it made. And I just adored my sister, so I wanted to take her with me everywhere I went. So people often thought that she was my daughter as opposed to my sister.
So you went to Stetson University, go Hatters, and then what happened from there?
I graduated with political science degree and then realized that political science is a useless major. And so the only thing I was qualified to do was to work in a government position. So I got a job as a probation officer, making $10.50 an hour. And quickly realized that if I had spent those same 4 years working at McDonald's, I would be making more than I was with my bachelor's degree.
That's a shame.
So I worked for the probation company for a while, and then took another government position called a pretrial services officer. And I really enjoyed the job, and it got me in a courtroom for the first time. I was exposed to judges and lawyers and really started to take an interest in the criminal justice system. But I realized in that position that there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me to advance. And as someone who is constantly looking to grow and move up, I just didn't see there being much opportunity for me there, because so much of it was based on seniority. And as a brand new college graduate, 21 years old, my colleagues had all been there years longer than I had. And so it just seemed like, an eternity before I would ever have enough seniority to move up in that position. So I tried applying to other government positions, but since I really didn't have much experience, I never got a single interview. And so I finally came to terms with the fact that I was going to have to go back to school if I was going to open any other doors for myself, which I very much did not want to do. I was so burnt out on school and just really, really wanted to try to avoid it, but I didn't see any other option. I figured in going to law school, there's all kinds of things that you can do with that degree. So if I didn't like, being a lawyer per se, I could be a teacher. I could work for a business. There was just so many doors that are open with a Juris Doctorate degree. So I decided to, put my my life on hold for 3 years to go back to law school.
Well, it seems like you made a good choice. Unfortunately, a lot of times with government type jobs, it's very hard to advance because you have to wait for somebody to retire or get promoted to heaven. So it seems like you definitely made a good choice there. So tell me about what you did after law school.
Sure. So after law school, I got my first job as a real lawyer. I was so excited. I worked for a large firm. At the time, I think it probably had around 75 lawyers when I joined it. It now has over 500.
Wow.
So it's just a huge law firm, one of the biggest firms in the state of Florida. And so I started at the bottom. I was, a new associate and didn't even really understand what type of work I was going to be doing. I remember looking at their website in preparation for the interview and trying to figure out, what kind of law do these people do so that I can be prepared for the interview. And I couldn't figure it out because they had everything listed, literally everything. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna, do my best. So I went on the interview, and even still then, it wasn't really clear to me what I was going to be doing. And on my first day was when I finally realized, oh, it's car accidents. Okay. Like I get it now. It's car accidents. So I was defending car accidents in the beginning, not just car accidents. That's an oversimplification. It was an insurance defense firm. So we were defending cases on behalf of insurance companies of all different sorts. But initially I was working on a lot of personal injury type cases on the defense side. And then over time, I started working in some other departments and worked my way up through the ranks there, became a partner in about 5.5 years, and then started overseeing other lawyers and overseeing other departments, and just really grew up to a position in the firm where I had, really created a nice and comfortable career for myself, and really at some points thought that that's where I would probably spend my entire career, is at that firm.
So what led you to start your own law firm?
Well, I had been at the firm for a little over 9 years, and I started to feel like I had reached a ceiling. I had stayed there for as many years as I did because I always felt like there was more and more room for advancement. But I started to feel as though I was not going to be advancing like I had hoped for. And so I was approached by another firm who gave me the type of offer that is just not one that you can refuse. It's not one that I perceived my current law firm could compete with. And so I accepted the position, and it was on the opposite side of the case. So I had been working for 9 years as a defense lawyer, and this was now a plaintiff's law firm. So opposite side of the same type of case. I would now be filing the lawsuits as opposed to defending the lawsuits. So I left my long-term firm to join this plaintiff's firm, and shortly after I started working there, one of my former clients, who was a major insurance company, household name insurance company, filed around 1,000 motions to disqualify against my new firm. The motions to disqualify, in summation, said basically, Brooke Boltz worked for, handled our cases in great volume. She handled hundreds, thousands of our cases. And so she has learned so much confidential information about our insurance company that she should not be allowed to now sue us or oppose us. And her new law firm should not be able to either. So the effect of those motions to disqualify on the new law firm was major. These same 1,000 or so cases that used to be able to settle and make money for the firm were now tied up in disqualification proceedings. And disqualification proceedings can go on for years at a time. So the firm I joined now saw this as a major problem, and I was costing them potentially millions of dollars just by being employed there. So I had to leave. I had to leave with no plan, no clients, and no money. What had always kept me from starting a business before was that I had read books, because I had hoped and dreamed of having a firm of my own someday. But the books I had read had said, you have to have 6 figures in your savings account before you even consider starting a law firm. And I never had that. I never had anything close to that. So I had pretty much given up on that hope and just felt as though I could do just fine for myself working as an employee. And so, but when things didn't turn out how I had hoped at the new law firm, I didn't really have much choice. I was essentially unemployable. I could not go back to the defense firm. because of their relationship with the insurance company. That was not something that a defense firm would entertain, me coming back. And I couldn't go to another plaintiff's firm, because it was likely that this same insurance company would file motions to disqualify any new firm that I joined. So my choices were either switch my area of law after, practicing in that field for 10 years and learn something new and start all over from the beginning, or bite the bullet and start my own business. And that's what I did. Started my own law firm in the end of 2017.
Well, you may not have had the 6 figures that you necessarily needed to start your business, but you most certainly had God, and you had your family and friends to support you and encourage you through that. So tell me a little bit about your fancy first office.
My first office was anything but fancy. It was not even really an office. It was a bedroom. We had a 3-bedroom house at the time, and I had 2 daughters. I now have 3 children, but at the time I had 2 daughters. And so they moved in to share a room, and we took one of their rooms and turned it into an office. My mom, who had been my legal assistant for the past few years at that point, she joined me in starting the firm. And so she and I set up desks in the bedroom and set up some computers and a couple of telephones, and we went to work. And then as we started to grow, we hired our next employee, who is still with us to this day. And so the 3 of us worked in one bedroom. Every wall of the room had a different desk. I remember that our other employee, Marissa, when one of us would have a cold, that she would wear a face mask to try to avoid getting sick, because we were working in such close proximity that we were bound to contaminate each other, because we were just all piled into one room. And then when we hired our next employee, we outgrew the bedroom. So I ended up moving my desk into my closet in my master bedroom. And thank goodness this was before the Zoom times, because if anyone had ever done a Zoom call with me back then, they would see all of my clothing hanging behind me. But I actually enjoyed it in the closet. It was kind of a nice, cozy feel. And I think that the internet service provider was a little confused when they came out to install internet and electricity in the closet. But that's where I worked for about a year, until we eventually just had grown so much that we needed to get an official office space.
So from working from your closet to now having almost 4,000 square feet with over 15 employees, tell me about some of your successes.
Well, we were really blessed, because from going to having no clients, no money, and no plan, we within 12 months were bringing in 7 figures, and we have grown from there to, by year 2 and 3, we were making multi 7 figures. So we had tremendous success very quickly. Also, we have done things as a firm, such as having billboards. We've had TV commercials. We've done really, high quality social media videos. So we've just done a lot in terms of building the firm through advertising in the community.
And one of the components of this podcast is creative marketing. So Brooke, what stands out to you as your most creative marketing piece that you've done so far?
Well, I try to make every advertisement creative, but probably the most creative one, the one that people seem to remember the most, is the first billboard I ever did. It was a red billboard, and it had a picture of me wearing football pads and a football jersey with my firm logo on the chest of the jersey, and it said "Game On," and then Boltz Legal. And I did that billboard because I have a story, a football story. I started playing tackle football as a child on a Pop Warner boys team. I played for a couple of years when I was 10 and 12, and then there wasn't much opportunity to play football after that until really college, when I played flag football just on intramural teams, and then we played against a couple other colleges as well. And then as a young adult, just towards the end of college, there was a women's professional football team that came to Daytona Beach. And so I had the opportunity to play on that team, both in Daytona, and then they moved to Orlando the next year. And so I played on the women's professional football team in Daytona, Orlando, until I broke my arm. I have a scar. You probably can't see it on the video, but I have now a metal bone in my elbow from a tackle football injury.
So, in addition to being a super attorney, a super football player, a super business owner, and all the other hats that you hold, you're also a super mom. So, tell me a little bit about your family and your Austin sister-in-law.
Absolutely. I could talk about my kids all day, as most mothers could. I'm married to your brother, Richard, and I call him Rich, and we have 3 children together. We have 11 and 12-year-old girls. Lila and Leia are their names, and then a 3-year-old son who is Luke. And so, as you can probably tell, we are Star Wars fans. Probably not as big as Star Wars fans as you would think, considering we have children named Luke and Leia, but we are fans, and we also just spend all of our free time with our children, spending time with them, and just whether it's watching a movie together or tickling and chasing the 3-year-old around. My children are really the joy of my life.
So, to kind of summarize everything, if there was one bit of advice or tip that you could give our audience today, what would that key factor be that led to your success?
That's tough. And I'm excited to be able to share all of the different things that we've tried over the years, the successful things and the not so successful things, because that's part of growth, is constant new attempts, constantly experimenting. That's the word I'm looking for. Constant experimentation, trying new things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. But if there's just one key factor, it's really being genuine to who you are. It's accepting your personal quirks or imperfections that make you unique, embracing those things, and being comfortable in those things when you're meeting new people. When you meet new business contacts, they're not looking for the best person in that field. They may be, but most of the time what they're really looking for is someone that they're going to get along with, someone that they can become friends with. And so when you're genuine to who you are, there is a trust built and also a connection built professionally and also personally. And then in addition to that, I would say putting others before yourself is also critical to growing your business. having happy customers or happy clients is very important, because every business owner that I have spoken to, when I ask them, where are you getting your business from? They say it's referrals from other happy clients. So it is so important to have those happy clients, so that they can then sing your praises and become fans, and help you to build your business. The sky's the limit.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for opening up to us today, for sharing your vulnerabilities, for sharing your experiences with us, and for our audience out there, if you have any questions for Brooke, feel free to follow Boltz Legal on Facebook and send her a message. She gives amazing advice and always goes the extra mile to ensure that her clients, and even if they're not clients, she just does the right thing to help people. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.